Indian president congratulates Ethiopia's increasing influence on the global arena. President Kovind applauds Indian teachers working in Ethiopia for years. And Ethiopia's bid to achieve climate-resilient green economy dubbed exemplary. So the top stories in this news edition. Hello, welcome to EBC News with the news. I'm Shmal Islamma. Visiting Indian president congratulates Ethiopia for its increasing influence on the global arena. Ramnath Kovind said Dr. Tedros Adhanom's accession to Director General position of WHO is a maker of pride. The president also congratulated Ethiopians for their growing recognition at the international stage. Kafleya Sababa has more on that.
Newly elected President of India, Ramnath Kovind, is here in Addis Ababa for an official visit. The President met Ethiopian President Dr. Mulatu Teshome and inked various agreements on trade, investment and other related fields. While he met Ethiopian Prime Minister Haile Desalegn late Thursday, Kovind took the opportunity to congratulate Ethiopia on growing recognition at international stage. The President highlighted on non-permanent membership of Ethiopia to the UN Security Council and Dr. Tedros Adhanom's accession to Director General position of World Health Organization.
Today, the voice of Ethiopia is heard with respect. Your place as a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council and the election of Dr. Tedros Adhanom as the new Director General of WHO are matters of pride for all of us. I heartily congratulate the people of Ethiopia on these splendid achievements.
He said Ethiopia is India's natural partner to its growing engagement to the world. Together, the President said both countries can influence global governance.
We see Ethiopia as a natural partner in our growing engagement with the world. Together, we must fight the scourge of terrorism. And together, we must shape and change new and old institutions of global governance.
The three-day visit is anticipated to elevate Ethio-Indian relations to a higher level.
On another occasion, Indian President Ramnath Kovind applauds Indian teachers working in Ethiopia for years. While paying a visit to Addis Ababa University on Friday, Kovind urged both nations to harness their young population's potential. Abraham Asrat reports.
Historical linkage between Ethiopia and India go back about 2,000 years. This historical cooperation between the two countries has further deepened in education, among other areas, from time to time.
Educational cooperation between our two countries has been the fulcrum of our engagement. When Ethiopia embarked on its efforts to expand its education sector, Indian teachers were invited here to teach in elementary and secondary schools. Those early pioneers traveled to the remotest parts of the country, instilled values and ideals in young minds, and dedicated entire lifetimes to the noble calling of teaching.
In his address at Addis Ababa University, Kovind encouraged his country and Ethiopia to harness their young population as they have such groups on bulk.
In terms of our demographic profiles, both Ethiopia and India are young countries. We have a similar set of challenges. These center on equipping our young people and our students with the education and skills to compete in the 21st century economy, with the capacity building to get jobs and employment opportunities that match their hopes, and with the sensibility to balance growth and development.
Appreciating the President's visit, the Addis Ababa University President, Professor Admasut Agaye, expressed readiness to strengthen ties with those of Indian universities.
Addis Ababa University recognizes and appreciates the valuable contribution Indian scholars have made to the university and to Ethiopia, and we would like to reinforce the joint activities aimed at expanding and strengthening the graduate and undergraduate programs.
Indians played a prominent role in teaching in Ethiopian schools, starting in the imperial rule of Haile Selassie. The coming of countless Indian lecturers has immensely helped for the flourishing of Ethiopian higher education.
And in lieu of the visit of their president to Ethiopia, Indian companies say Ethiopia is a major corridor for Indian investment in Africa. Ethiopian and Indian investors converged here in Addis Ababa on Thursday to enjoy business-to-business discussions. Jerusalem Bazaar reports.
Indian companies are engaged in textile, leather, engineering, water management, education and health, among other areas investing in Ethiopia. To scale up this investment cooperation, Ethiopian and Indian business people have converged here in Addis Ababa. Taking the podium, State Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Aklilu Haile Mikhail said India is the third investing nation in Ethiopia in terms of volume.
By the Berlas in 1958, where the two governments started a textile company through joint venture. Today, India is one of the top three foreign investors, one of the top three sources of foreign investors in Ethiopia. The investment of Raymond and Arvind in Hawassa Industrial Park and Kanoria in the textile and garment manufacturing sector can be cited as examples of success stories of Indian companies in Ethiopia.
The Indian business delegation head contemplates that Ethiopia provides huge potential for investment. He adds Ethiopia as a major corridor to Indian investment in Africa.
Ethiopia is the rising star of the African economic landscape. Not only it's leading East Africa's growth story, but it's projected to be the fastest growing economy globally. Opportunities for investment exist in many areas of the Ethiopian economy.
Mohan Group states that Indian companies in Ethiopia are profitable.
Indian investors have definitely been successful in Ethiopia, especially in the manufacturing sector. As I've told you earlier, most of the industries who have invested in Ethiopia have been expanding their businesses. So it is very evident if a business is expanding, it means that they are doing well. And if I see the expansion ratio, it's pretty high. And it's very clear that investing in Ethiopia is a good opportunity and is profitable.
Participants said the B2B meeting has created an opportunity to work together and to assess business opportunities.
We have a good experience sharing with Indian business people, and we import not only materials, we import technology. That is very important for local investors, local business people importing technology and promotes joint venture with Indians.
In this B2B meeting, what will happen is the individuals, they can show who could be the good partners for here and who can come and invest here and who could be the this private sector partners.
Ethiopia is one of the countries that has a huge focus towards infrastructure development. We are an infrastructure building company. We build infrastructure around the world, and that is how we came to Ethiopia, and that's how we are building projects over here.
The total trade volume between the two nations reached about 1.37 billion USD in 2016. Documents indicated that Ethiopia is second globally, next to Vietnam, in attracting foreign direct investment.
A flag, to me, is my bloodstream line. It's my backbones. It's my flesh. A flag, to me, from what I learned from my parents, is a symbol of unity. It's a symbol of togetherness.
Now moving on to other news items, Ethiopia's bid to achieve climate-resilient green economy is dubbed exemplary. Participants and representatives of international institutions on the least developed countries ministerial meeting paid a visit to some Ethiopian green development projects on Friday. Abraham Asrat has more on that.
Participants from least developed countries were deliberating on environmental issues and green economic development endeavors, among others, for the last 2 days here in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. The participants paid a visit to Ethiopian facilities in the capital that operate with minimum carbon emissions. The Ethiopian practice has been dubbed exemplary for countries in Africa.
I think this initiative by the Ethiopian government is very laudable, and I believe other African countries can learn lessons.
I think that's just really exciting to see, and I think it has been very good that we talked about environment and climate, and now we see good practice here in Addis.
Ethiopia prides in following green growth plans.
They have visiting what we have done in terms of developing climate resilient green economy, and they have attested to the works we have achieved by physically visiting our facilities and plants.
Despite the challenge, Ethiopia strives to capitalize on its current fast economic growth by becoming more resilient to the impacts of climate change in a carbon-neutral way.
African nations reiterate working towards achieving sustainable development goals along with advancing Agenda 2063. A continental conference here in Addis Ababa dwelt on improving agriculture and rural development in Africa. Wondersan Alamayo reports.
African nations reiterate working towards achieving sustainable development goals along with advancing Agenda 2063. The conference held in Addis Ababa discusses ways to improve agriculture and rural development in the continent. Commissioner for Rural Economy and Agriculture at the African Union highlighted that prime focus is attached to bolstering commitments on ensuring food security and seeking more opportunities for Africans.
The STC meeting offers an opportunity for policymakers and technical experts to revisit our developmental commitment, learn from the past, and propose sound technical option and policy action towards transforming our continent for the benefit of our people, especially the youth.
Ethiopia also expressed its commitment in achieving the said development goals.
Enhancing resilience of livelihoods and the production system to climate variability and other related risks be seriously taken by the African Union as an agenda to be pursued by member states.
Africa is striving to realize the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals in eradicating poverty, along with ensuring environmental protection works, where Ethiopia has a prominent role. The conference is happening under the theme Enhancing Environmental Sustainability and Agricultural Transformation to Achieve Food and Nutritional Security.
The annual bilateral consultations on the development cooperation between the African Union and Germany concluded on Thursday. Their agreement focused on furthering cooperation in job creation through enhancement of technical and vocational skills and entrepreneurship in line with AU's theme of the year. In a press briefing to journalists, German Chancellor's personal representative for Africa, Gunther Nuck, expressed commitment to reinforce cooperation in skills development, peace and security with Africa. AU Commission Deputy Chairperson Ambassador Kwesi Kworti lauded the existing partnership between the two sides. During the two-day consultations, additional agreements were reached between AU and Germany in infrastructure and energy, as well as migration and strengthening of institutional capacities of the AU. They also dwelt on the upcoming AU-EU summit due to take place in Abidjan at the end of November. United Nations Development Programme UNDP says climate action is crucial to help meet sustainable development goals. At the ministerial meeting of least development countries here, Ethiopia urged developed nations to help the LDC's efforts in tackling climate change. Kafleya Sababa reports.
LDC is a group which demands developed nations act in accordance with their prime part in causing climate-related problems. The group, comprised of 48 least developed nations, held its ministerial meeting here in Addis Ababa on Thursday. Taking his country as the model, Ethiopian Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change says least developed countries are exerting efforts to mitigate impacts of climate change.
Our ambitious plans to mitigate and adapt to climate change need support. We need both financial and technical support, and the international community needs to scale up climate finance to meet the challenge and to act to prevent permanent loss and damage to our countries and communities.
Timely actions on climate change are said vital to realize the UN Sustainable Development Goals.
It is no longer sufficient to look at climate change as separate from development, to look at climate change as a sector, but actually to see climate change as driving the achievement across all of the SDGs. It is essential that we're looking at the objectives of the NDCs as central to national development plans, as central to the work of financing as well, to understand how climate change affects national budgeting as well.
European countries like Norway and Germany have vowed to assist least developed countries in combating climate-related problems.
Climate ambitions among developing countries, in particular the LDCs, must be underpinned by financial and technical support. Norway is an important contributor to climate finance through bilateral and multilateral channels. We are happy to be your partner and collaborate in our common efforts to address the climate change.
When we think about improving our NDCs by 2020, the timely development of the 2050 strategies would be instrumental in improving the NDCs by 2020. I would therefore propose to think that the two plans, the NDCs and the long-term strategies, are a mutually enhancing combination. And Germany is more than happy to share experiences in the development of such long-term strategies.
The meeting is anticipated to develop a draft agenda for UN Climate Change Conference COP23 to be held in Bonn, Germany.
The renowned Italian jazz team Perfect Trio staged their music show here in Addis Ababa at the Italian Cultural Institute. Edo Bezabe has more.
The renowned Italian jazz musicians Perfect Trio have begun their tour in Africa by making Ethiopia their first destination. They have begun their performance by showcasing their performance at the Italian Cultural Center.
Basically, this band was chosen to be one of the most eminent representing band for this African tour. This is basically what we are going to do in the next 10 days. So it means that we started by Ethiopia, in Addis Ababa, and we will continue in the next day through sub-Saharan African area. So we are going to Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and last South Africa. Then back again in Addis Ababa, and then back home to Roma.
Roberto Gatto is one of the most acclaimed Italian drummers who've been working inside and outside the jazz world. Alfonso Santimon is a composer and arranger. He has been working for several years in multiple projects, experimenting electronic and improvising music. He has contributed a lot to the production of several music records as a composer and arranger. Pier Paolo Ranieri is a bass and double bass player in the field of jazz and pop music. The balance between the three musicians is the perfect ensemble of improvisation in three electronic grooves.
And finally, foreign tourists are gradually returning to Tunisia, boosting revenues by 21% in the first 9 months of the year compared to a year last year. Jerusalem Bizaha takes Reuters file.
Holidaymakers lie on sand loungers at a Tunisian luxury hotel, while everything from the swimming pool to the wall paint, furniture at the Shine Reception Hall, police post at its gate. Thanks to a massive security presence and advertising, abroad some tourists have returned, helping boost revenues from the sector by 20% to 851 million USD in the first 9 months of 2017 compared to last year. Westerners are still reluctant to come back despite most countries having lifted travel warnings. But hotels have managed to fill rooms with Algerians and Russians.
Temperature is good for us. It's a less expensive month than Thailand, Egypt or Turkey.
In terms of safety, we have taken a very big step forward. What else remains to be done? We still have to deal with the cleanness of the country's environment, and we should not neglect the service at the hotel level, which is a continuous improvement. It's cheap, good price, good time, good hotel. I like everything.
Tourism accounts from about 8% of Tunisia's gross domestic product, provides thousands of jobs and is a key source of foreign currency. But it has struggled since two major attacks in 2015. But with hotels resembling fortresses, many holidaymakers book all-inclusive tours benefiting hotel chains while staying indoors, leaving souvenir traders and cafes idle in the old city.
We are happy when there are English, French, Italian or Europeans in general. We give them the information they want, we stay with them and they go happy. The relation remains good.
Officials say tourism revenues are rising.
Revenues for the period from January to September 20 in Tunisian dinars increased by 21%. In euros, we recorded a slight increase of 6.4% compared to last year. So, despite the decline of the dinar, we calculated in euros, we still recorded an increase of 6.4%.
He said Tunisia aims to attract tourists from new destinations like China and Canada, as well as its traditional markets like the UK and Germany. Tunisia has increased security in sources and other tourist spots, erecting checkpoints on main roads and at hotels after police came under fire for a slow response during the 2015 attack.
That's all we have time for in this news edition. Many thanks for watching and have a nice weekend.